Voy a encontrar. Soy así, ya es muy tarde para cambiar. Yo no espero nada, vivo sin rumbo. Solo quiero amar cada segundo. Soy aquel.
Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would love to welcome Deborah Attoinese. Did I say your name correct?
You got
Attoinese.
it right. You got it right.
Deborah Attoinese is an award-winning director, producer, and writer. Originally from New York, her most recent work is her award-winning documentary, Playing with Fire, which follows the story of Abby Bolt, a 22-year battalion chief and wildland firefighter in the U.S. Forest Service who was sexually assaulted while on assignment. Deborah spent the last 6+ years working on this film and says she had no intention of making it until it found her. And here she is on A Little Less Fear podcast. So awesome to connect with you again.
Hi, Lena. Very, very nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
So Deborah and I, we became friends because we're part of some creative endeavors, creative visions in Malibu. And I'm just so blessed to have connected with her energy. And when she told me about this documentary that she had on Amazon, correct?
It's on Prime Video, which is it's part of Amazon. We're not on the subscription Amazon yet. We're hoping to, but Prime Video is where it's available. Amazon Prime Video is where it's available.
So it's on Amazon Prime Video, and I had the honor to watch it. And honestly, I had no idea what was going on with the sexual harassment and firefighters, and it was really quite an eye-opening experience for me. But before we get deep into it and talk more about this documentary, I'd like to know the first thing that you said is that you had no intention into making it until it found you. What do you mean by that?
I was invited up to a female gathering up in Yosemite now probably 7 years ago. A good friend of mine's sister, Trish, lived up there, and she was sort of calling a meeting of different energies of people. She invited people to come up to let them know, to talk about this problem that was going on with the female firefighters up there. At that time, there was a fire chief named Kelly Martin who had just gone before Congress as a whistleblower to sort of talk about what was going on. And we were hoping that she was probably going to be the lead of by the end of the weekend, all this stuff was being discussed, and there was about 5 of us in a cabin. Everyone looked at me and said, we should make a documentary. I was the only filmmaker in the cabin. That's what happened. So I went, okay, all right, knowing that, a lot was going to fall on my shoulders in the sense that nobody there was in the film business or any of that sort of stuff and really knew what it would take to get a documentary made about this. So I left and I did a deep I took a couple of days to think about it deeply, and my first reaction was no. This is going to be years of my life, and that's very, very often my normal reaction to something is no. And then I go back and think about it, and then I ease into it. I'm not a person who jumps in the water, generally speaking, without thinking about it. So then I realized that I didn't have a choice. It was my moral obligation to do this movie, and that just get on board and do it. So
I love how you said that. I love how you just said that, Deborah. Your moral obligation. Can you tell us more a little bit about that?
Well, like you, I tend to. Oh, there's Abby. Let's see if she can join us. Hang on a second. Let's see if that. I'm trapped. I'm working. I'll say okay, no worries. Sorry, 1 second.
Sure.
She said she's really sorry the power went out and that she's sorry. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you so much.
Okay, so what were we talking about? Moral obligation. That it just seemed like it was my job to be the one to tell this story. So the first thing we had to do was sort of build a Seed and Spark campaign and raise a little bit of money to at least get it going, which we did. And I did with the help of my dear friend Kay Brown, who's no longer with us. She was like 81 at the time. She was such a go-getter. So we raised about $10,000, and that got me to Florida to start filming some of the a group called the Waitrix. These amazing female firefighters who gather once or twice a year to help teach each other certain skills. And there's some wonderful men involved that really help bring a sort of sense of community and skills to the fire service. Yeah.
And so the moral obligation came from more of it being like an ethical thing to do for women.
Yes. Yes, it felt like a moral obligation when something like that drops in your lap that women are being sexually assaulted while fighting fire. It's pretty hard to say, no, I can't take that on.
Right. And also the fact that you are in the film industry and that you have this gift that you were born with, the gift of being able to tell a story and in ways that other people can't. And by using your gift and your natural talent and your abilities, you are able to be the voice by your gift and your energy for those that need to be seen and heard in a way that's understood by all.
Yes, I think that well, art in general, does
Right.
that,
Yeah.
whether it's film or painting or poetry or writing. And I think that art is always trying to teach us something, and I think that film is another form of art. And I'm I'm very good with a camera. I'm not a wordsmith in the sense that writing is hard for me. I can write, but it's I can grab a camera and tell a story quicker than I can put it down on paper.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I love the film itself. I mean, before we actually get more into the story about Abby Bolt's story and the other firefighters, I'm also interested in your art and how you made the documentary come to life. I noticed you were literally hands-on. You were there. What
Yes,
was that like?
um, like I said, it was like learning a new language. I've never been anywhere near a fire in that sense. So because we were on such a limited budget, my lovely colleague Sam Amin, dear friend of mine, who I call my camera soulmate, I was able to have him shoot a little bit of it, but we didn't have enough money to sort of get him to travel to Florida and to do a lot of stuff. So I ended up shooting the rest of it. And him and I are very simpatico in that sense. Like when we work together, it's always terrific. So I was able to match what he had already done and just keep it going.
Where
So
was
I
it,
ended up,
where
I
was
ended
it
up
filmed? Because there's a lot of things that are literally on fire. Like, where was it filmed?
well, it was some of it was filled up. It was filmed in California and in Florida, where this group, the Waitrix, was
Okay.
training. Yeah, um, and my dear friend Arlene's husband Tony came as my assistant. It was just him and I, and we basically stayed in tents with the women and ate with them and just embedded with them for about a week. And that was fantastic. One of the women, Lacey England, who's in the film, she was sort of our safety person. So she kept an eye on us, and she
Oh,
was.
great.
But at one point, I was following some. I was taking a shot, and I did the wind changed, and I took a huge gulp of fire. I took a huge gulp of smoke. Me and Tony and I both
Oh,
did, and it was very scary. We were fine, but you could feel it go all the way down
oh
to
my
your
goodness.
lungs. And that was just a small gulp. That wasn't. We were fine. We didn't need oxygen or anything like that. So you realize how the power of fire, and it's also very. There's this pull to fire. We are drawn to it, and you flirt with it a little bit. There's a flirting that takes place between the human and the fire because its energy is so powerful. And
Yeah. It's interesting you say that. I never really thought of it that way, but that's true. We are attracted to fire.
yes, yeah. And the women that I met were so passionate about what they're doing, and deeply in love with the earth. You know, they are
Yeah.
real stewards of the land, and that was beautiful. I liked seeing that and very much. You know,
I
but it
like
was
seeing that
learning.
as well. Yeah.
It was learning a new language because they would talk about fuels and wind speeds and all kinds of fun stuff that you go, what's that? What's that? And I like sometimes I'm not I do documentary and scripted. I do both. So I
Mm.
can't say I'm a documentarian or I'm a script. I really like going in and out of both of these genres, so to speak. And so I don't mind going someplace where I really don't know what's happening. I kind of like it. I like being the student on the set,
Yeah,
in that
definitely.
way. Yeah.
And also you get to learn things that you never knew before. And while
Yeah.
you're learning things that you never knew before, while you're doing your craft, it actually makes it that much more artistically creative and
Yeah.
also expressive and just in a more an authentic way.
Yeah. And I find also people are very helpful when you're looking, when you're open. You know, the key is just
Yeah.
staying completely open. And they'll say, hey, this is happening over there. And hey, and they'll, so everyone starts looking out for you in a way because you're so open to learning and trying to tell the story as best you can. And then you get other people excited about the, the momentum. I love working like that.
And then, one thing I'm thinking right now as you're telling this, I'm imagining and I'm feeling that while you're working on this, directing it, making sure that you're also listening to the technicality of your environment and learning the science behind it, and also being in your creative crafts zone. There's also the story of Abby in the back of your mind. So, I mean, I'm just feeling, is this something that you were like literally going to sleep and waking up thinking about on your mind all the time?
Yes, Abby, I was always trying to bring the story, anything back to Abby's story, always
Yeah,
bringing it back to
right,
Abby.
right.
Yeah, so you tend to pre-edit when you're filming, and
Sure.
Tony would say to me, "How'd you know to ask that?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, I don't know that she said something, and I just jumped to the other thing, you know." But he was very sweet. He was very supportive, and and I'm listening deeply, when I'm filming somebody. When you're interviewing someone, as you know, it's all about that connection, that contact, not losing for a second that eye line, not not
Right.
not turning your head for a second when they're speaking, and you're dialing in at a very deep level when with the listening.
Definitely. And I believe what's most important there is to making sure that you're present with that person, because
Yes,
as long as you stay present with their energy and with what they're telling you, it's going to stick, because presence is what creates emotion, and emotion is what creates the next scene.
that's
And
right.
so that's exactly the way it is for you as well when you're directing, but you're literally have to have your satellite completely wired and open in all angles, which is really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, directing is not really directing. That's the key. It's
Yeah,
allowing. You're sort of like an orchestrator in the sense you're listening to all
right.
these instruments, but
Yeah,
you don't want to you don't want to be. You can tell when a director is taking all the oxygen out of a scene, or they're not allowing the subject, whoever it is, to speak. Because the more comfortable that person is that's behind the camera, the more comfortable the person in front of the camera is.
absolutely.
It's just easy. I did a documentary called On Directing, where I interviewed some of my favorite filmmakers, which included like Wim Wenders, Agnes Varda, Billy August, Roland Joffe, and I asked them, "What are you giving and what are you taking?" So we're giving something, but we're also taking
Oh
something.
yeah, absolutely.
It's just the answers were fantastic, because it is a two-way street. It's not just about the film person taking. You've got to be giving something back. Otherwise, nothing's going to come back to you, right?
I love how you said that. You have to give something back, right?
Yeah. Yes, you
Yeah,
have to be
well,
giving something back to whether it's an actor or a regular person. I don't like when you see directing. It's when it's just that I need this and I'm not giving anything back.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything's a give and take in life. whether you're
Yes.
directing or just having a regular normal conversation with someone at a coffee shop.
Well,
And
it
that's
should
how,
be. It should
yeah,
be. It's not
absolutely.
always, but it should be.
It's
Yeah.
not always, but that's actual connection. When you're actually able to give and receive, that's when we're connecting and processing and receiving energy and
That's
in the flow of it, which is beautiful.
right.
So let's get into Abby's story. It was really, I mean, I definitely I had some tear-jerking moments in watching the documentary and just really feeling her pain and seeing her struggle and how once she spoke her truth, it's like she had to get it out there. And even though there was a struggle, a big struggle to get it out there, I have
Yes.
to get it out there. Should I get it out there? I know I need to get it out there. What if I don't get it out there? But it was a nagging feeling unless she spoke her truth. What did you learn from her story? What did you learn from the story? From her story, her truth.
Um, Gosh, that's a big question. What did I learn? I'm still learning from it. That's the truth.
Mhm.
That's the truth. There you go.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm still learning from it. Every time I have a conversation with her, every time I put a print promo together, every time I cut a testimonial with someone who's seen it, one of the things Vin Bender said in my documentary on directing was that the only truth that mattered for him is what the audience takes away.
I
And
love that.
and I think that Vim has that right. And what I learn is nothing compared to what you learn, because
Right.
you, as the viewer, is what we are, which is this is the most important part of the learnings, I think, exchange and when you make a film. So I'm learning all the time. I mean, I've had women, I've shown the trailer to people, particularly women, and they turn to me right away and say, that happened to me too. And I was in my pool class a couple of weeks ago, and two women came off. We had just gotten out of the water. We were all dripping wet. This woman came over to me. Her name is Lynn, first police detective in the city of Oxnard, California, years ago. And she said, I just want you to know, I watched your movie, and that happened to me. And then her best friend came over, and she said, it happened to me too. I was in academia. So when that happens, um, boy, that's just so powerful, because people are, and then I said, could I interview you, because I would like to do some testimonials to help
Sure.
draw attention to
Yeah.
the movie. And they said yes. So one of the testimonial, Lynn, when the woman who was the first police officer, and these are like kick-ass women. I mean, these are not wallflower types. You
Yeah.
don't just become the first female police officer in Oxnard
Right. Yeah,
and
right.
stay there. And she goes, I have a gun, and it's called Hector. I mean, they're tough, strong, salt of the earth women. These are not wallflowers. So Lynn says in the testimonial, when I saw it, I never heard anyone say what I felt like that before. And that's so I'm learning all the time, by how people interpret the film, how they interpret Abby's
Yes.
story. So I'm learning, the same way the viewer is, more and more about Abby's story every time I hear somebody tell me that. And every time I watch it, of course, I see another layer of it. But it's hard to pinpoint what did I learn, because it's so vast and it's so big.
And
But
it's constant.
I learned to just say I keep learning. It's
Right. Yeah, you are.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
What's beautiful too is because you made this film, this documentary, and because Abby spoke her truth, others are coming forth and speaking their truth.
that's right. That's exactly right. And that is, it's such a beautiful thing. And in there lies the power and the healing of
Yes.
of the film, and Abby's story, and Abby's incredible courage to go out there and tell her story, because I think she was in so much pain that she had to do it, and to write herself, yeah,
Yes.
although it was tremendously hard for her to do it. Yeah.
So for people tuning in right now, we're talking to Deborah Attoinese, the director and the of the documentary film Playing with Fire. And we were so close to having Abby on on the air with us here, which would have been incredible. And it's unfortunate she's in an area where service, living in a ranch, internet service can be a little shaky. But one question, I'm not sure if you can answer this for her, but a question that I would have loved to ask her is how has her life changed now that there's awareness from her story?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't really answer that particularly in the sense that exactly how her life has changed. I think she has said to me, I'm so glad you made this movie, particularly because of her family, that the family that's in it, her mom and her dad and her sister and sisters. As a witness, as someone that cared enough, she said, "I can't believe you cared enough to see my story all the way through."
Wow.
So I know that that touched her deeply,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
I think that her mom was a PTA president, and in the movie you can tell like she came from a place where she was always
Yes.
told to stand up for yourself.
Right.
And I love when her mom says, "I raised them to be fighters," and she fought, and it has hurt her. But
Mhm.
she said, but in the end, I think she'll be glad she did it. So I think that's probably the best way I can speak for Abby in the sense of with her mom's line saying that she went through it. She lost something that she loved, but I think she gained a lot in that. I mean, she's now working in for utilities as a safety consultant, I believe, and she married Randy, who's a wonderful guy. So, their life goes on, and it didn't kill her. In fact, it actually raised her higher. You know,
Right. Oh yeah,
yeah.
definitely. And what kind of changes have been made? I know in the film there were some changes that were kind of showing that we're in the process of as far as like law making some things lawful or I guess just kind of bringing things into awareness as to what was happening and the things that needed to ethically happen to the people that were harassing women. And so what type of changes have occurred since then with that?
I don't, as far as I know from the women that I know, nothing has changed in the sense that they say this shit is still going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to say that, I mean, a lot of there are already laws that, there's things that are there, but
They're not being enforced.
they're not being enforced. And then, it goes back to the movie. There's no accountability. And a lot of times these people
Right.
that are doing the bad things are promoted to get rid, they raise them higher. So it's the
And
old
they
boys
raised them
club.
higher and to quiet down what happened.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. To protect them and to protect basically the patriarchy. I mean, there's no other way around it to
That's
say it.
exactly what it is.
Even when a woman is in charge, it's incredibly hard for her. Because they had a woman in charge. It's the culture. Randy says in the movie, "How do you change a culture? We haven't changed for 100 years." And
That's a great question.
yeah, I don't. How do you change a culture? It's getting up and making movies and standing before
Yeah.
people in film festivals, and you and I speaking on your wonderful
Yes.
podcast, and people listening and going, "Wow, I'd like to check out this film. I'd like to check out what's going on." And the more people know and understand that it is true, this is not made up, um, uh, and people become more and more aware of it, then things start to change. Yeah.
Just so that people are aware the type of harassment that we're talking about that happens in this type of line of duty. Can we talk about it?
Sure.
Because we can say watch the movie or this is what's going on and but if people aren't really aware of the type of harassment that women are getting, they're not really going to have a picture in their mind or be able to really feel the empathy or the compassion with what women are going through when they're in the line of fire.
Right.
And so, I mean, a lot of the things that I saw in the film were obviously being talked down to belittling, to inappropriate touching, inappropriate talking, wording, just everything that you can think of a bully would do to someone is what they're doing to women,
Yes, including sexual assault. Yes,
including sexual assault. And when women are speaking up, actually, a lot of women don't even want to speak up, and they don't want to speak up because it's going to be a domino effect of it coming back to them, and they're not even being heard. And because they're not being heard, there's no change being made.
that's right. That's right. The retaliation factor is huge. So even when they do speak up, the retaliation is so intense that that's enough to make people. Well, that's the whole point of retaliation and being a bully, right? Is to so somebody doesn't stop you from doing what you want to do. Um, yes, that's that, and that's still happening. Yes, that's still happening.
And when you saw and you were when you were recording all this and editing it all and just really deep into it, what type of feelings was it invoking in you? Like witnessing, I mean, because I can imagine as a female, um, that this is also feels desperate for you as well.
Yes, I mean, I was. Everybody has some sort of sexual assault in their life. I think of some kind of something. So I'm no different in that. I didn't have the Abby story at all, but for me, I think I was really trying to take on the family drama, and I was always trying to tell the ripple effect of trauma. That's what for me is the most important part of the story. That's what I was trying to do. You throw a penny in the water, it ripples out. Everybody feels it.
Oh
So
yeah,
so I felt that I didn't want to make a movie about a rapist. God no. And I didn't want to make a movie about rape because who wants to watch a movie about rape? I don't. We know it happened. We deal with that very early on in the film, and then we take on Abby's fight for protection from the agency,
sure.
and then of course they don't actually step up to protect her, and then she's like doubly hurt now because the people she's planning on protecting her don't, and that's a huge rejection. That's a big letdown. Um, and I think that's the saddest part of the movie is the fact that the agency doesn't step up when they're supposed to. In fact, they do the opposite.
What
You
do you
know,
think it's going to take for the agency to step up?
that's a really good question. I don't really know. I can't believe that they haven't stepped up. Um, like Sarah, her lawyer says, changes are being made. I think there are people that are trying to make changes. It's not that everybody's a bad person, and there's a lot of good men out there. This is not
Oh yeah,
like
right.
bashing all men, not at all. The good guys are trying, but they have to continue to step up
Mhm.
and let their voices be heard as well. And like Abby's mom says in the movie, they don't just do this to women; they do it to men as well.
That's
So
so true.
this is not just women that are being mistreated here.
That
They
is
do it
so
to men as
true.
well. Yeah. And generally, with that kind of bullying culture, you look for the weakest link of what you might think is the most vulnerable at the moment, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, in life, we just have to be kinder to each other. We really do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what do you hope happens with Abby's story here and all the other firefighters? Because it's not just Abby's story,
Yeah.
just her story. There's other firefighters telling their story as well. And I could definitely see their strong personalities on there, which is incredible. They're going to keep going and doing what they love. I mean, even despite the fact that they're being harassed and treated this way, they're still going at it, which, my goodness, makes them so much more stronger than one could even imagine.
Yes,
Fighting fires and fighting sexual assault. That's really incredible.
yes, it really is. A lot of the women I met were just wonderfully, just super strong and super passionate about their jobs. And most of them came from families. And I'd say, what was your relationship like with your mom and dad? How they feel about you fighting fire? Most of them came from families with very strong dads that were like, "Come on, honey, let's go fishing. Let's go. I'm going to
Yeah.
show you how to do this, that." My father, I was the son he never had. We had I had four sisters, four women, and my mom. So I was the son he never had. "Come on, Deb, I'll show you how to put in this battery or hold this for me." That kind of. So, but it's not like, and these are not women that hate men at all. They love their dad. They have very good, for the most part, they really love men, and they're so when they go into this line of work and they've run up against this kind of old boy network, they can't believe it because it's not how they were raised.
Mhm.
They were raised with very strong, open, supportive fathers for the most part that That was a big surprise to me. I didn't expect that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, definitely, right. And that was really beautiful. I love how the supportive her father was as well.
yeah. And her mom, I mean, her mom is amazing, Terry. She's no longer with us, unfortunately. She passed of cancer, but in a lot of ways, it's a mother-daughter story, you know?
I see that. I
Yeah.
definitely see that. And so why is this, why do you feel that this story is so important for people to know now? Why is this the right time?
Well, women are certainly fighting for their rights, for equality, and to their body. I mean, the fact that we over
Right. Oh yeah.
Roe versus Wade is insane. I have the woman, my 82-year-old friend that we had a birthday party for on Friday, my friend Kay, who passed at 84. These are women that have fought so hard for these rights. I mean, they are artists and lawyers and judges and that have just spent years fighting for these rights that have just been overturned. And it's a heartbreak. It's
It
a
really
heartbreak
is.
for
Oh
them.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of women that have been out there for years. So I think it's important because right now we're in this kind of mad time where instead of going forward, we're going way back. I don't understand it, um, but we're just going to keep fighting. That's all there is
Yeah.
to it, you
We're
know.
gonna keep going forward.
Yeah, we've got to keep going forward. You know, people don't, this romanticizedness of going back.
Yeah.
There's no going back. You go forward.
Yeah. There is no going back. I
No
mean,
going
there's
back.
no, we things just can't go back. I mean,
No, no. I mean, we go back to learn, but
right. That's
we can go
true.
back
We
to
go
learn,
back to learn.
but we don't go back to say because that was better. I mean, it's a romantic kind of weird. Uh, it's sort of it's it really for me it's a bit of arrested development on the country itself. I feel like people want to go back to being 5 years old. It's we got to grow up as a country. We really do. You know, it's time to grow up and stop with this. I don't know. It's the childhood nonsense of everything's better back there. That grass is always greener over there. The fact that the racism, the hate, the gender nonsense against women, the inequality in being paid, and it's terrible.
It really is. It really is. I love how you said that we have to grow up.
Yeah, we got to grow up. America is a young country, and it's time that she grows up a bit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. So what do you hope happens with Abby's story? Where do you hope to take this documentary?
Well, we've been very lucky to find a home at Amazon with Prime Video. We're hoping to get at some point get switch over to Amazon Prime, where if you have a subscription, you'll get it for free because you're paying $15 a month or whatever it is for Amazon. But right now it's $2.99 to watch it, and I hope that it continues to touch women and tell its story the way it has. And we've gotten some amazing reviews on Prime. I thank everyone who left these beautiful, passionate reviews. So I hope it just continues, find its audience, and hopefully inspire other women to speak up. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe even inspire other filmmakers to make other documentaries on other line of duties where this is also happening.
Yes. Yes. Always. Yeah. Always. Yeah.
Awesome. It's been great connecting with you. I mean, where can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners get a hold of you if they need to get a hold of you?
I'm easy to find. Just type in DeborahAttoinese.com, and I'm sure we'll spell that on somewhere on the podcast.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Everything's going to be in the show notes.
yeah, easy, and reach out to me, send me an email, or I'm pretty easy to find. Yeah.
And so you're welcome to also receiving other stories so other women can get a hold of you and if they need to tell you their story.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, or if anybody wants to show the film at a class or anything like
Oh,
that,
that would be excellent.
yeah, we'd love to do it. And I'm sure if Abby's available, she'll join us. And again, I know she's sorry that she couldn't join us today. So
That would be excellent.
Yeah.
Deborah Attoinese, this has really been incredible. I'm so glad that we got to meet and through the podcast, even though we've met in person so many times. And I just look forward to keeping in touch with you and seeing the incredible rapid progression of this documentary and the many doors that it's opening and windows of opportunities for others to speak their truth and be honest with themselves. Because if we're not honest with ourselves, speak our truth, change is not going to occur. And a lot of the most uncomfortable situations that we put ourselves in is actually when change is created and when awareness becomes complete. So thank you so much for doing the work that you do. And thank you, Abby, for sharing your incredible story, your incredible spirit, and your loving energy for yourself. And so in dedication to this podcast episode, I wrote a poem and I dedicated to your film and I dedicated to Abby and to your energy as well.
Thank you. I can't wait to hear it.
Here it is. And it wasn't until I fully realized that I was wronged when I decided to share my truth. I had to stand taller than I ever had to. That was the time my spirit held my hand. That was the time I really took a stand to not only respect and love my energy, but to support others who suffer the same collectively. And that was the day I realized that even loving yourself can be both painful and liberating.
Absolutely beautiful, Lino. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Looking forward to keeping in touch with you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into A Little Less Fear podcast. I love you and happy holidays to you and all of your loved ones.
Sounds great. Thank you, Lino.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.